All right, let's see here. We'll go with silver. I want to play Alone with No Love.
Here I am just standing with thoughts so pure, full of hopelessness and thoughts so insecure. Was all of this when you left my heart, alone with no love. Here I am standing, alone with no love. Here I am standing, alone with no love. I gaze at the sea with this swift tall waves, watching in a trance its beauty amazed. For how has it existed with no love of its own? Alone with no love. Here I am standing, alone with no love. Here I am standing, alone with no love.
So I think this is an absolute perfect record. I love wind instruments, so that little break at the end that I played with the flute is something that really moves me. I just love everything about this, from the way the lead singer starts with the vocals, to the piano, to the dirty drums. I mean, the people that were making these records, they had 9 to 5s. They had the woes of life. And they happened to make, in my opinion, a timeless hit record. And there's lots of musicians like that. But I think this is definitely a double A-sider, and I just love everything about Dante Records, Rock Candy, and the Contemplations.
That's another dope record. Another dope record. That's really cool. Really cool. Thank you so much. I think we've worked out what the sound is. I think it's not picking up my audio card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself when you're talking, and hopefully that'll be better. Okay. So yeah, let's move on then. So that was your first DJ gig. So tell us about it. How did it go? And then obviously, how did things go from there?
Yeah, it went really, really well. I walked in, I got like 10 minutes to kind of set up and put my records on the table and spin and, mix and turn the volume up and twist the knobs to make it sound right. Playing music, for me, my records, is incredibly therapeutic. I do it at home and I get the same excitement when I'm outside there. But I think what really moves me is when people come up and they say, I know that record. Thanks for playing that. It's really dope. Or somebody comes up and they ask a question about a record. When I was in Portland, they were taking pictures of my records, and I love that stuff because I do this. Everything I do since I came on the gram is to support and strengthen the vinyl community, to support indie soul artists and labels. And when I'm able to use my music to connect with people, that's what matters most to me. There's a gentleman that goes by the name of FOS Dave, and I had interviewed, he was one of my first interviews. And what he said to me has stuck with me to this day, and I keep it close to heart. I said, Dave, which are the records that you remember most from all your years of collecting? He said, Wax. He goes, it's not the records, it's the people we meet along the journey. And that has really been at the heart of everything that Wax Villain is about. It's the people, it's connecting, sharing music, like-minded interests, things like that.
As a very interesting comment, because it's the same here, the community that we've built up through the 45 Kings and then through 45 Day and on Twitch, it's all about the people. Yes, the music is there, but it's the community, and it's one of these things we talk about a lot. For example, you're on Instagram, we're on Twitch. Before I got onto Twitch, I didn't really understand, why would people watch other people playing games. It didn't make any sense. And then obviously DJs got on there, and it's only when you started watching DJs and then you realised actually it's not just about the DJ, it's about the chat, the community, the people talking about vinyl, the people hanging out because of vinyl, connecting through music. And that's so important. And I think you're right, it's definitely the journey, as Nico says, along the way. So you've obviously met a lot of great people along the way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you got involved on Instagram then. How did that sort of come about, and why did you choose that platform, and how's it been going?
Yeah, so everything started like around the pandemic for me. So I started collecting records in the early 2000s through the lens of a beat maker. So I wasn't going for one genre in particular. It was just like a beat maker, right? I'm going for those obscure things. It could be library records one day, OSTs the next. Could be a deep soul record the following. So I always was looking outside of just one genre. And I stopped in 2017. I was not collecting records anymore. I was kind of having a woke moment, so I was changing a lot of habits, and I put down the record collecting. I always said music was this journey that I could start and leave and come back, and that was something I said way, way back. So fast forward to the start of the pandemic. At that point, I was playing basketball heavy. I was going to the gym maybe 2-3 times a day, still not touching vinyl records. One of my best friends, Jeff Benjamin, he starts putting these records in front of me, sending me links. And I was getting out of records. I was just trying to kick the knowledge to him. I was sending him records. I had no interest. And I remember he sent me a link to this one song one day. And I said, is this a LP? He says, no, it's a 45. I said, bro, I don't do 45s. But I had a really hard time at the start of the pandemic. The gym's closed. I can't work out. I can't do that stuff anymore. Going through a lot just at the start of the pandemic with the status of the world. And the music that he was feeding me ended up being the crutches that would like lift me up. I was having a really tough time. I thought I was having like heart trouble around then, kind of a new dad. And so there was a lot going on. But when he gave me the link to that song, I played it, and it really moved me. And by the time it was done, I played it again, and I started to feel happy. So I wanted more of that music. And as I started to learn the scene, I realized these were independent artists, right? They couldn't go and record. They couldn't play shows. They were limited to the vinyl, to what could stream. And when I was seeing labels announce a new 45, we would see the label, we'd see the song and the band name. And I said, but I want more than that. I want to know what led to Ponce writing the vocals to this. I want to know what the inspiration and what this part of the song means. And that was absent from the scene. And I continued to kind of stay on Instagram because my buddy said, you can go to Instagram. There's all these labels. That's where you can, see the artist. You can find out about the music. So I started to get on Instagram. My Instagram account was zero. It was not music related or anything like that when I started. And as I came on Instagram, it was the live streams that I would join, and I would see these people from the community, soul and funk. And I wanted to be a part of that. And as I continued to learn more, I said to my friend, our DM conversation about this whole Wax Villain thing, we got to turn it into a book one day, because it was all in the DMs well before anything ever took off. But I had this vision that as a fan, I could support and strengthen the vinyl community as well as indie labels and artists in a different capacity, a greater capacity. I wasn't sure how, but I had these ideas. So it all started with the carousel post, where I would have a picture of myself, and I was particular about it. So you've never seen me in a post without Wax Villain above printed, so you can read it and see it. You've never seen me without a black sweatshirt on or my beanie. So those were things that I purposely put in place so that people would start to recognize me, right? You might not like the way I look, but when you see Wax Villain, you know what that means. When you saw the silhouette of a guy in a beanie holding a record, you knew it was me. So those were things that I did early on to kind of create that, brand adoption. if you will, to Wax
Wax
Villain.
Villain.
And I'm using things that I learned in my professional job from corporate to treat it like a business. So everything was uniform. Things were very routine. I'm process oriented. That's what I do. That's what I do very well at. And I remember around the start of 2021, I had discovered this label called Wax Thematic. They're based out of Seattle, Washington. And I was really digging everything they did. Small label, fantastic, physical products, great artwork, colored vinyl, great music. And I had bought some records, blah, 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 this and that. And Nathan Womack, the founder, said, hey, I put something extra in for you. And I said, oh, I'll unbox it. I never thought about unboxing records until he said that. Now, my goal was, I had this hope. I said, man, if I get like 10,000 followers, maybe I could have a partnership with the label. It didn't take 10,000 at all. And there were many times that I wanted to quit this. Many times, and my friend Jeff Benji said, please don't stop. Keep it up. Keep going. So I said, okay. Now, when Wax Thematic sent me that extra record, it happened to be my birthday. I was feeling special. I said, let's do an unboxing. After that unboxing, I started getting contacted from just about every indie label. It started with the Cali Soul labels. I was taking Zoom calls like night and day for 2 months, explaining what I could do to help, what my role was, how things would work. And so I want to say within 3 months, Wax Villain was very much alive, and we were doing things like unboxing records. We were doing our carousel post. Because in my mind, I had these partnerships with labels, I was always thinking, I need to find these lanes to plug them in more. Meaning, so I unbox a record, but what's next? Well, why don't you interview the artist? Ask them about the record.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I had, at that point, I thought I was too small. I was like, they're going to take me as a joke. Nobody would sit down and talk with me. So the first interview that we ever did, it was an hour. There were 3 different guests, and we brought them in these different segments. The first 30 went to Maria Sanchez, second to the Intuitions, third to FOS Dave. And then after that, I'm starting to build my relationship with Mike Noriega of Noriega Records. And something I noticed during the pandemic was this. It's very hard to find information about Lost Soul, right? I find more in the comment section. But what I realized was all that knowledge lived with the collectors. And I was seeing record collectors on the soul scene pass away due to COVID. And I said, Mike, we got to do something about this. We've got to document conversations with these collectors. Otherwise, we're going to lose genres of music. And so that started the vault. So my first big interview, I thought, was with Bad Vic and Mike Noriega. And it was. At that time, that was huge for me. But Mike and I then say, let's start Mike Noriega Presents the Vault, Tales from the Crates of Soul Collectors. And I think, with Mike's support, his name, it opened a lot of doors for me. So talking to people like Kenny Dope, Supreme LaRock, Kev Darge, Miss Goldie, the list goes on. Is due to Mike Noriega. In fact, a lot of the stuff that you see Wax Villain, there should always be Mike Noriega footnote at the bottom of the page, because Mike has influenced me greatly. He's never said he's a mentor, but I look to him as a mentor. Before I make big decisions, I always talk to him. If he says yes, I go. If he says no, I don't. And that's just a respect thing right there. He's just been incredibly instrumental, in this journey as Wax Villain. So that's how everything took off. And again, I'm using, what I know in corporate to make this professional. So if I interviewed you, you got a minute-by-minute agenda with questions 48 hours before the interview. I think I only missed like 5 out of the 200 plus that I've done. But I treated it very professional. I wanted to show that, hey, I take this seriously. I respect your time, and I'm trying to deliver greatness to our community in the name of supporting and strengthening and spreading the word about the music. So that's kind of how that thing took off.
That's amazing. And like you say, again, it's coming back to community, but also having a passion and also an idea of what you want to do with it. Because you could have just said, I just want to interview people for the sake of it. But obviously you said, no, I want to interview to document and to keep a record of these stories and these experiences and this knowledge. Because if I don't do it, someone else might, but it doesn't look like anyone else is doing it. It's all just going to disappear. But Yeah, brilliant. And it's also great having someone to bounce off ideas, like you're saying, about Mike, because, I'm sure, like me, you have loads of ideas all the time, and it's like, what can we do with this? And it's until you sort of vocalize those ideas and say to someone, what do you think about this? And they're like, yes, that's a really good idea, or no, that's rubbish, or whatever. But yeah, like you say, having a mentor of sorts is great. And it's building community, it's building that bridge and helping grow, helping everyone grow.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And one of the more exciting things, though, real quick. So in year one, I did pretty much all the interviews. I had a designated co-host, Jeff Benji, and then Jeff had stopped. And so for the second year for the interviews, I said, I'm about community. I want to involve the community more. So I started Wax Villain and Friends Fireside Chat. And I think there were about 10 live streams last year where I invited somebody from the community, somebody that I knew, a friend that I was communicating with, and they would co-host with me. And so it was so special to be able to open those doors up, to allow a friend, somebody who loves the music, that artist, the album that they came out with, the opportunity to sit side by side virtually and participate in that interview. So that was something I was really proud of.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is amazing. And we'll talk a bit more about the fireside chats in a moment. But
sure.
Let's have another record. Let's have another record. Number 3, I believe. Let's have
All right. We've been going heavy on the soul. So this is a bad boy right here. This is a bad boy. This is Rocky Brown. I Wish I Knew. It's a Philadelphia record, Toxin. You don't see this bad boy too often. Now, on I Wish I Knew, there's an incredible guitar. And it's like a busted guitar, but when you hear it, you're going to be like, that's brilliant. Here's what got me hooked on this 45. You can't find the B-side anywhere, which is I'm Mad. The only place that had it was the site that sold this. I heard the B-side, I was sold. I said, take my money. So I'm going to play a little bit of each side because I want you to hear the up-tempo and the slowy. So here's the other thing with me. With the 45, part of my criteria is, especially if it's big money, you got to give me something that's up-tempo on the B, and you got to give me something slow on the A. That's the prerequisites. So let's get this on. I haven't seen anybody touch this record or play it before, so it's kind of special to me. So this is I Wish I Knew, Rocky Brown and the Impacts. Beautiful record. Listen to that kick drum in there.
Is my heart wasting time when it tells you that you're mine? Oh, I wish I
So that's side A. You could probably hear the guitar and that kick drum. Being a beat maker, I still love a dirty kick drum, and I just love how dry that sounds. Now this is I'm Mad. It's up tempo. I love this. I just love his delivery on this. It's a fun one.
$7 a week, can't even buy shoes for my feet. Can't take my girl out on a date. Got all these bills, but they just won't wait. And I'm mad, baby, mad.
So it's almost like he was kind of like rapping a bit. He's rhyming in there. And I tell you what, my man, nothing good happens after midnight. A lot of these come between like 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. But I have FOMO, and there was only one, so I had to act.
That's a great record, and I love your ideal that it has to be a slowy, I think, on the A side, and then an upbeat on the B side. Because obviously there's so many records these days that have got, certainly in hip hop, you've got the vocal and then the instrumental. Almost feels a little bit of a not a cheat, but if you're going to buy a record, and certainly if you're going to buy a big price record, you need to make sure you've got both sides that you're going to be able to use and play out at some point. Because otherwise it's a lot of money being spent on a record that you might only play one side. And that's one of the things with 45s. So, you obviously said that you only really got into 45s sort of 2017. And at that stage when you 2020. And at that stage you were saying you're not a 45s guy. So, what is it since then that has made you a 45s guy?
Yeah. So, I'm really hype on color variants. And a lot of the newer modern 45s like Penrose, Coal Mine, they had color variants. And I was just crazy about these cool colors. I'm colorblind, so I don't know if I see the colors as dark or bright as you, but color variants moved me. And as getting into 45s and soul music, I feel like is a lot like trying to learn jiu-jitsu, right? You start out as a white belt, right? You're just kind of learning, browsing around. But the more that I learn from the collectors, especially the California record collectors on the soul scene, I have so much respect and admiration for those guys because I've had like so many mentors since I got into this. And it's because of them that I had this affinity, not just for 45s, but soul specifically, funk specifically. And it's to the point that I won't even really touch LPs now. I would rather have the 45 than the full LP. I love 45s. There's something so special about these rare soul records that maybe they only pressed like 300 of them. And they lived in a basement for 20 years, and then somebody discovered them. And how these records traveled from the 60s to the 70s today, and the music is so relevant. Some of them you can only get on 45. So I love 45s. And I used to be partial. I told you if it was black vinyl, I wouldn't mess with it. I have no problem with black vinyl now, and I always look 45 first. I look at 45s night and day. I probably dream about them too. I just don't realize it. But that is my preferred format. I'm not a purist. I have a lot of OG presses, but purist to me is exclusion, and I don't believe in exclusion. My mission is to support and strengthen the vinyl community, so I care just as much about a collector who shares a story about a reissue with me, just as I would somebody who has a story about the OG. I think about my soul brothers, my soul sisters, and I want everybody to walk with me on this journey, and we can't do it if we're excluding. But with that said, when it says OVO on the club, I can come in there with OVO records. My problem is this. I think about Apple and the Three Oranges. It's an amazing 45. Likely I'll never see it, let alone have the coin to buy it. And I think it's a shame to not play that music and share it with people just because I don't have the original. There's a record that I got the other day. I can't even remember what it was. But I just said to myself, I want to share the music. Why should I live as a record collector by someone's rules who I've never met before, who might not even be in the same room as me? And so I will only buy reissues if the OG is out of reach, it's not available. And sometimes I like a record, but I don't love it. So those are things that factor into my decisions there, but I don't exclude. I'm not a purist. I consider myself a hybrid collector. I'll come in and shut it down with my OGs. But if I want to play Apple and the Three Oranges, I'm going to play Apple and the Three Oranges.
That's cool. Here's a couple of questions for you. So, first of all, when you say out of reach, obviously there may be a record that isn't available. That's fine. Or there's a record that, is perhaps too expensive. Do you set yourself a limit of how much you will pay for a 45?
I'll tell you what, I have to say almost no. I bid over $1,000 on a 45 2 weeks before Christmas. I wanted the record that bad, and I kept telling myself over and over again, this record's going to go in your box. It was a near mint copy of, it's on the Post label. I'm drawing a blank on the name, which is crazy because I was going to pay a lot of money for. I think it's The Perfections. Okay, Love Storm. And my heart sunk when I was the highest bid at $1,020 because I had never paid that kind of money for a record before. And I started to feel nervous. And then I was outbid 30 minutes later. And I was like, whew, I'm glad that ride was over. But in my head, I still said, I'm willing to throw 14 at this. That would have been my limit.
Wow, yeah.
And you start to get cold feet when you're talking about that kind of money for a record. There was an A side and there was a B side that I loved. But again, I talked to my people. And I talked to Nori. He said, fall back. I fell back. I can't just sit around and buy $1,400 records, though, let alone $500 records. In fact, it's really important that we're talking about this because I think if you are new to collecting records and you like soul, you don't have to go after $100, $200, $300 records. There's plenty of records out there, but you have to be willing to explore. I love my record collection. I don't think my record collection is better than yours or the next person's, but I love the records in my collection. It's a reflection of my journey, the work that I've put in looking to find these records, to read about the musicians, the label, to see what else is there. And by the time I'm ready to buy, it's a very compelling case for me because I know so much about it, because the music moves me.
And you're invested. You're invested in that record. You're invested in the story. You're invested in the artist.
Yeah.
It gets this much more than the actual record. It's interesting. DJ One of a Kind. We were talking about this very same thing actually when I met him recently. But yeah, okay. My second question. Obviously, you've talked about going to events, OVO, original vinyl only.
Yeah.
How do you deal with people who are limited? You said you don't exclude. You'll buy reissues and you'll buy originals. How do you deal with people who just say, "Well, you're not part of our crew because you're not playing the original"? How do you deal with those people? Do you have discussions with them and explain what you just explained to me, or do you just let them get on with it?
There's a few thoughts. One of the things that I told myself early on, and this is just in general with the work I do on the gram, Criztoz, there's going to be people that will be part of my story, and there will be people that aren't part of my story. And I'm very okay with that. I told myself one morning in the shower, I said, the reason some of these, folks aren't following you, you don't need their help. They don't believe that you need their help. Look at how far you've gone without them. Why do you think you need that account to follow you? So I rest easy and say some will be part of the story, some will not. I had this one guy call me out on a post one time. He said, that's a nice reissue. I have it too. And I always pull up. If somebody says something, I always pull up, but in the name of respect. And really what I said to him was this. I said, I just liked how I looked at the picture. I wish it was a different record too. But I said, I don't exclude. It was a Sam Dees 45 Northern Soul. Would I have bought the OG? Probably not. I don't love it that much, but I liked it. And it was part of my journey with Northern Soul. I mean, just because you're exploring records, you don't have to go OG everything. That wasn't my intent behind it. So, I just have a very, kind discussion with the person. I let them know where I'm coming from, and I let them know that I got big records in the box that are OGs. But I'm not here for that, and if you exclude me, you exclude me. I have OGs, though, and I can play those, and I play by house rules, right? I will play by house rules. Because, again, it's respect, it's tradition, I get that. But if there's no house rules and it's Wax Villain doing his thing on the tables, I'm going to play it. I'll probably play like 99.9% OG, and I might break out, like Gorilla Funk, right, by Boris Gardner. I was playing my reissue for the longest time. Now I have 2 OGs. So it's things like that. I wasn't willing to sacrifice my set to please people that weren't even in the club that night. I wanted people to hear Gorilla Funk or Ghetto Funk. That's what I wanted them to hear. I wanted them to learn about Boris Gardner. I wanted them to understand about the OST and the history behind it. So that's how I do that.
That's great. We'll carry on the conversation a little bit in a minute. But let's move on to another record. I think we're on number 4. What have you chosen for number 4? But before, I don't know if he's still in the chat, Soft Snowy Swan wasn't in at the beginning and was asking about your figurine again of your your adapter. If you could just remind him who it is and how you got it.
So this is the El Triste 45 adapter.
It is created by Toy Raider. You can buy these at toyraider.com. They're priced well. A lot of them are limited edition, signed. They're fantastic. I would encourage you to get the glow-in-the-dark one. I don't know what he put in this thing, but it will light up a room. Yeah.
That's great. We got a link from Twitch. Thank you there. But yeah, the 4th record. What have you got?
Fourth record.
So I'm going to go with something... okay. 3 left. Man, I forgot about all these. I got to go with... a person that has been a big inspiration to me is Bob Abrahamian, and he is from Chicago. Everybody knows him for his radio station, his interviews. He was a record collector that passed away. But to this day, I listen to his mixes. He was somebody that I was introduced to by Mike Noriega. And so I have friends at Stax, and they did a Bob tribute. And when they did the second to last tribute, there was a song on there by the Cruisers, Mink and Sable Mabel. So this is a Philadelphia record. Gamble and Huff there. Miss Goldie would say this is crossover. But I just absolutely love this record. I can't get enough of it. I was going to exclude it because it wasn't a yellow label, but I like the record so much, and there's a lot of different people that led to me getting this. So, really, really cool song. The drummer is putting on a master's class. You'll hear it now.
Took it till she couldn't take no more. So she thought illegal to score. Now Mink and Sable Mabel driving a Cadillac. If she keeps the payments up, she won't have to give it back. Everybody asks her where she got the dough. She smiles and she tells them it ain't for them to know. A few days later, the search at the bank was on. They couldn't find the cash, so they knew that it was gone. Now Mabel don't have a real good year, don't they dear? I know y'all hear. Now she's driving a big fine Cadillac. All the fellas wave at her, but she don't wave back. Everybody's wondering where she got that car. The money that she's making couldn't stress the fair.
So I just love that. And I like, there's a gentleman that's singing. His voice is very deep. Well, maybe not deep, but it's distinct. And I loved that. I loved the lyrics, the story behind this Mabel. Like in my mind, I could see a music video for this. Yeah, I love everything about this record.
That's a great record again.
Yeah.
The
Cruiser. They're great. They're great.
That's great. We've got DJ Nico in the chat, and one of your fireside chats was with the Toronto Soul Club. And you had DJ Nico, you had DJ
Love
Bluff,
TFC.
and also DJ Misty and her baby as well, which was cool. One of the things we've tried to do, certainly with 45 Day and 45 Kings communities, is sort of promote as much as possible women DJs, try and get them on streams, try and get them doing mixes, and obviously that's the same that you've done. So how have you found that in terms of sort of promoting women, and have you had any kickback from that? Have you had any issues with that? Have people generally been positive? Or not? You know, what's your sort of response to all of that?
Yeah, so off the top, I was raised by my mother and my grandmother and a gang of aunts. So I don't know what else to say about it, but I love my soul sisters. My platform is their platform, and since the inception of Wax Villain, we have always made this an inclusive place. I want to support my soul sisters just as much as I support my soul brothers. I think the reception has been fantastic. I think I've been able to connect with more women on the scene, and to be able to introduce them through my platform so that people can find out about them. They can talk about what they're passionate about. Because what I really think about is this. My daughter's 5 years old. And she looks at my records and she likes them, and she sees, Pops spinning the records. But I want her to see DJ Nico, right? I want her to see Wayward Girls Soul Club. And the list goes on. That's what I want her to see. So if I don't take, the initiative to drive these things, which comes from my heart, then who will? And it doesn't matter if there's a lack of support around this. What matters is that we're together. We're taking the journey together. And that's what it is.
That's very true, and it's the same with my daughter, because obviously she's 8 now, she's DJing, and I love to be able to show her women DJs, to sort of say, this could be you, in 10, 15, 20 years, and she loves seeing them on there. And again, girl power is a thing that's been big in the UK since the sort of Spice Girls, but it's good to be able to put that out there, because there's been a lot of certainly from talking to some other people who've come on the show, and Joa Jones, we talked about this, and she'd had some issues with mansplaining and men in the clubs, and sort of saying, don't play this, or you shouldn't be playing that record, or telling her what to play next, or all of this. So I think it's really important that we do make this space and make our platforms available for everyone, and be totally inclusive and get them involved as much as possible. And all the sets of all the 45 Queens have been part of 45 Day and 45 Kings community have been amazing, and it's great to see them on that. Hopefully we can get even more women involved, and at some point it might be 50-50. We're still struggling to get there. Certainly with 45 Day, I think it's about 25% or 20-25% of women DJs, and then the 75%. But we're trying to build it. But it's big shout out for doing that.
Thank you.
And it's really good. Right, let's have another record, and then we'll talk about another couple of things.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the Seattle record. So again, this all goes back to geography, Miss Goldie, and places that I've been. I tend to want to explore and see what's out there. I came across this record by a group called Cookin' Bag. They were from Seattle, early 70s. There's the 45 there. And there's a saxophone solo on this that I absolutely love. I have 2 of these. I usually do doubles if I can. But 2 of these, an incredible sax solo.
I'm a big sax and brass fan, so I'm looking forward.
You're gonna love this
I'm looking forward to this one.
What'd you think of that?
Yes. That's great. That's a great record. Great record.
So it means a lot to me when I'm home in Seattle and I'm out to play records like this for people. You know, I try to represent for my city. I try to represent when I'm back home. You know, it's an upstate thing, and I play those records so that people can see it. But this is a really special record. I play this every time I play in Seattle, as long as I got my funk records with me. And, you know, I've been able to reach out to some of the members in the band. I wanted to bring them on for a talk last year, but, you know, I just didn't have the bandwidth to do it. So it's a very big deal when I play records that are local, and there are musicians that I've interacted with. Same thing for Bobby Wade, and I mean, the list goes on. It means something when I've had that connection with them. Again, it all goes back to the people, so this is a great example. Bobby Wade. I heard the song and I said, my gosh, I need to find this guy. I need to know why he wrote Four Walls in a Window. So I reached out to Bobby Wade, and Bobby said, this was funny. This is over like Facebook Messenger. Bobby says, well, prove it. Which of my songs are you talking about? Which one do you like? And I've talked to a lot of people in the DMs over text and phone, and nobody's ever asked me to kind of like validate. So I validate everything. And, you know, Bobby and I were talking 2 weeks later. We did a fantastic interview. We have a lot of stuff lined up for 2023. But I just was so moved by the record, man. And, you know, here it is on yellow with Deluxe. And when I interviewed Bobby, he talked about where Four Walls in One Window came from. He was working in like a leather factory, and he was looking out the window watching the cars go by. And that's where Four Walls in a Window came from. Nobody knew that before we talked to him. I mean, Bobby did. Maybe the people at, you know, the label remembered that. But all of us, you know, fans of his work that have been listening for all these years, me not so many years, but, you know, I instantly fell in love. I was moved by it. I wanted to know. And it took that interview to get that, you know, piece of information. So
that's interesting what you say. I think similarly, you know, I've obviously interviewed quite a lot of people, and I think that, again, there's only been one person who's said something like, so, you know, have you actually listened to the record? And I was like, yeah, of course, you know, I've had it. It was a promo that I'd been sent, and I'd listened to it in advance, and I sort of knew about it. But, you know, sometimes it's good that people do that. They do just check, you know, that you are into what you say you are, and you're not just sort of just using them just to try and promote yourself in some way. You know, you're a true music lover. And you were able to say, well, yeah, this is the particular song I want to talk. And I was watching a little clip of that earlier on, and we were talking earlier about one of the issues with interview. And we've had a couple of technical issues tonight. I think we've got the echo sorted, I hope. But obviously, we were talking about he's quite a slightly older gentleman, and you were trying to get him onto Instagram. So tell us a little bit about that, and then sort of trying to explain to someone who's slightly older and maybe not in the tech world as much as some of the rest of us, and getting them to the point where they can do an interview with you on a live stream.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really starts with once I get the yes, I'll talk to you, Wax. Then my next thing is, okay, how am I going to get somebody who doesn't have an Instagram account, not familiar with social media really, to join, to navigate through the process? And so I have learned to do test runs kind of like we did. You know, I've also created, like, I call them test accounts, so that they might not have an account. I don't want to have to put Trey Lots through the process of having to create an Instagram account. So again, it all goes back to my professional work experience in corporate, where I've created these very detailed sets of instructions that I send over email, message. I read over the phone as we do it. I got them sharing their screen on the thing. And so, like, you know, it's a beautiful thing when it actually works. Val's interview was kind of tough because we had to get him to connect. There was bad reception. It looked like he was in a basement. And, just knocking on wood, I send that request on Instagram Live, and when the tile opens and I see them, I'm like, oh, we did it, baby, we did it.
It's it's a great thing, and like you said, we had a few technical issues, and we're like, right, we got it, we can do it, we can do the show, and it's great. And then there was almost a problem earlier with Twitch because Twitch went down, so there was a problem that we thought, oh, we might even be able to do it live, and it showed a little bit of because we were on a message group, and one of the DJs was meant to be playing as part of the Primo raid event, Jim Sharp, and we're all sort of chatting in WhatsApp, and it showed us how addicted we are to live streaming. So I was like, no, we can't get on, we can't watch it, or no, we can't get in the chat, or no, we can't use emotes. It was really weird. For about an hour, we're like, what are we going to do? No Twitch, which was a bit strange. But again, it's coming back to the community and sort of thinking, right, well, I could be present, I could be watching this stream, but I can't be connecting with my community because I can't communicate with them because they're not in the chat. So it goes a little deeper than just being addicted to watching a DJ. But that was a little bit weird earlier on. But let's keep it rolling with the music. I always lose count. I think we're maybe on number 6.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I'm gonna go with.
We're getting into the flutes, the heavy wind stuff. I'm gonna go with a record that is not out yet. It's coming out this Friday. I've had it for about a month.
Awesome, exclusive.
This is very, very exclusive. This is my brother, somebody who I admire a great deal, Joel Ricci, a.k.a. Lucky Brown, Wax Thematic Records. This is Funkways, the 3rd installment. So there's the JAS Ricci Quartet with These Eternal Verities and Fireball by Lucky Mystery Now Orchestra. Now, I'm going to be honest with you and really transparent. I don't really hold a lot back, and I was very forward. When I heard this record for the first time, I cried. I thought the flute was so beautiful. I called Nathan, or maybe I messaged Nathan. I called Lucky, and I was like, this is the one. And I was so compelled. I got on. I told everybody about it. We got more promo stuff coming. But Lucky Brown is probably my favorite musician, period. His body of work, the music resonates with me more than anything else. And a lot of it is instrumentals, but it's the ties to, the deep funk, the jazz, and his own flavor that he brings. I don't think anybody could duplicate the music that he makes. But I told him, I said, Fireball is the one. He had me wanting to go out and buy a flute to learn how to play it after I heard this. So let me put this on the table for you. This is a double A-sider. It comes out this Friday from Wax Thematic Records. I highly recommend anybody that's not tracking, pick up this 45. So I love flute. I absolutely love flute. He's got a nice solo on this. Let's just get into it.
I love that flute. That flute's amazing.
So there's something that happens. I mean, we call this stuff music, right? But when I put that on, like, I felt something inside. I felt something here. I felt something here. And this music can change our moods. It makes us happier. It reminds us of stuff. It's very, very special. You know what I mean? I think that a musician can heal so many people at scale through a single song. And so this is
just
yeah.
an incredible 45. I ordered 3 of these because I'm probably going to burn through the first one. Just keep lifting the needle, dropping it over and over again. I'm a repeater, by the way, so I like to listen. If I love a song, I play it like 100 times in a row.
Yeah. No, that's great, and it's a great label. I think I've definitely got something off that label. I remember buying something from America, maybe directly from the guy who was promoting it. I was trying to think which one it was. Maybe LA People, maybe La People.
La People, yeah.
Maybe that's the one I got. Yeah.
That's Lucky Mystery Now Orchestra. That was the first one in the series.
Yeah, I think that may be the one I've got. But great. But I mean, I think it's also important what you're talking about, because we've got 45 Day. We've got a thing called Uplifting Mix, where basically I invite people to record 45 minutes of 45s that lift the spirits, and it came from a question that Mark Lancaster asked in one of my first talk shows, where he said, what 45s lift your spirits, and then he asked the guests, and we did that, and it's been a real success. But it's been really interesting to see each person's interpretation of what uplifts them. And music is really important. So let's talk about that a little bit more then. Obviously, you're saying that music does something to you and can help. Why do you think it is that music has this amazing connection, this ability to sort of lift you up and change your mood and change how you're feeling?
I think that
it's a deep question. I'm sorry.
No,
it is a deep question.
We ingest supplements through our mouth. We put cream and lotion on our skin, right? Things can also come in the ear, and I don't know what it is that it's like this language. That's why I say the sounds. My heart, my mind, they're like, oh, we understand what's going on. Hey, everybody, let's get in line. Let's do this. And that's what happens every time. I mean, I'm telling you, when I say this is therapeutic, when I come down here, it's like somebody that needs to go work out at the gym to blow off some steam, and they're like, oh, I feel great. I needed that workout. I come down here and I spin records, 30, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour, and I'm like, oh my gosh, all right. Now we can get back to life and keep going. It's just incredible. But not all the music resonates with everyone. So something that I am gaga over, my friend might not like it as much. That's a special thing, is when you're exploring and you find these connections. I think, again, through the lens of a beat maker, we look for samples that are short. I put the needle on the record, and I usually know instantly whether this is going to move me or not, because I trained myself for so many years to look for just these little bits of goodness, right, when I want to sample. So that's kind of where it starts. I just know it. I feel it. That's the best way to describe it.
That's a great description, and I feel exactly how you feel, because for me with Twitch and the streaming, it's beautiful just being able to sort of just come down and think, right, okay, I feel like playing some records. I'm going to switch the stream on. If someone comes into the chat, cool. If they don't, they don't. But you're still playing them for yourself, and you're playing music that I love. And if other people get it, brilliant. But it doesn't matter in a way. It's therapeutic to me. I play my set, do my hour or whatever, and then, like you say, get back to real life, and it's just that escapism. It lets you escape life for a short period of time, similar to what you're saying about going to the gym and things like that. So that's cool. Yeah. Right, let's keep it rolling. Let's try and get a few more records in, but let's hear another one, and then there's a couple more bits I want to talk to you about. But what have you got next?
Okay, so we kind of started to dip into the flute. I'm going to play something by a group called the Soul Fantastics, called El Mismo.
Yes. Panama too, yes.
Are you familiar with this?
I think I have got it, yes. It is good. I've definitely got one.
Do you want me to pick a different record?
No. Play it. Other people won't have heard it.
So for everybody listening, This has a flute that rivals what y'all just heard from Lucky Brown. The Soul Fantastics, I don't know a lot about them. Their records are really old, and those that you come across, they're kind of beaten up. Panama 2, I don't know if the records weren't taken care of or whatever, but I got this bad boy here. I don't think there's an OG of this song. If there is, it's not the same version. So I went with it. This is going to blow your mind. Here we go. Yeah, buddy.
Such a great record. There's a thing called stank face, when obviously you hear like a great bass line.
Yeah.
And it's the same with that. There must be flute face, because, you know, towards the end, when the music stopped and then that sort of flute solo came in, I could feel my face going, yeah, you know, you can there's definitely something about it.
I'm like sweating right now.
There's definitely not enough flutes in music that we hear. But yeah, I'm going to say a quick shout out to Kev from Dinks Records and everyone else tuning in. Right, one of the other things we're going to talk about is your screen printing 45s. So tell us about those and how you got into it, and you know why you do it.
So we talked about how I don't really necessarily I wasn't collecting 45s for the longest time. And a lot of that was because there was no album art. And give me 1 sec, I just got to get a little juice.
That's very true, because although some of the older 45s, and certainly we've found this on some of the shows in terms of some of the European pressings, had picture discs, a lot of the ones you get now is just generic white or black, you know, or brown, but generally generic white. But yeah.
So that was why I didn't shop 45s for the longest time, because there was nothing for me to, like, I can go into a record store and from across the room I can see an LP that I've been tracking just by the colors, the font, things like that. With 45s it was harder. So I want to say in 2020, I was introduced to a lady named Elaine Prince. And Elaine made these screen print sleeves that were absolutely beautiful. I bought some. I was putting my 45s in them. They look kind of cartoon-like. My daughter loved them. So it was kind of this thing that brought us closer together, right? She started to recognize the records by the sleeves. And I wanted more, but she wasn't making any more sleeves at the time. And the one thing about what I've done with Wax Villain in this space, anything I've wanted to achieve or think that I could do, I've done it. So I don't know why. I mean, I'm not an artist. I don't consider myself an artist or anything like that. But I said, why don't you try to create your own screen print sleeves? And it started with me drawing, pen on paper, graduating to Adobe Illustrator, and just locking myself in to take what was up here, these illustrations, these things that I wanted to put on paper, that I wanted to see, to Illustrator. And so I probably spent a good maybe month and a half, 2 months just working on the designs. I have my own screen print kit with a full-on press and everything, and I did it. It was hard. I struggled. I cried. I was making a mess at first. My burns weren't good. The ink wasn't coming out right. And there were some really great people on Instagram that got in the DMs and were willing to take the time to give me some guidance. And once I got rolling and I figured out how to do the print right, I was in an apartment at the time. So when my daughter and wife would go to sleep, from like midnight to 3, 4 in the morning, that living room became a design studio. And I could print like about 150 sleeves before there was no more room to walk in the living room. So I would do that, finish about 3, 4 a.m. Again, there's nowhere to walk. I'm feeling good about this. Then I would go in the bathtub and I would clean my screen. And I would repeat that process. So Waxware 45 is the name of the brand that I created. I call it Waxware because it's kind of like you're dressing up your 45s. And it is my absolute baby. It's something that I love. I did, before I actually started it, I did reach out to Elaine. I told her about my idea. And I actually asked her for advice and guidance. And she was super supportive. You know, she had kind of recommended some kits to buy, and she had commented on a post when I made my announcement. So that was something that was important to me because, it was something that she was doing, and I was inspired by her to create and to make this available for people in the community. I sold out my first collection in 8 hours, did like 200 sleeves, gone, and I've probably printed close to 1,500 that I've since, sent out around the world to people. I think I lost what you might have just said.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. From never. So you'd never done screen printing before?
No. And here's the trip. So like this summer, I was just doing another print run, and I wanted to get that like light blue label that we see on the old records. So I mixed together 2 different types of ink. It was almost like a Tiffany's blue, if you will. I do the prints, think nothing of it. I'm kind of like, oh man, these inks didn't really mix well. I don't like the way they printed. So fast forward 3 weeks later, and I'm turning out all the lights in this music room right here. And when I turned out the lights, not only was El Triste glowing,
amazing,
the sleeves glow in the dark.
Wow.
It was an accident that I didn't know, and I saw like all these pieces of paper on the ottoman like lit up. And I said, what? So I go back, I get them, and I'm like, oh my God, you make glow-in-the-dark sleeves. So I never released any. I've sent some to some friends, but the ink doesn't print quite the way that I would want it to, or the way it does when I do my other pressings. But yeah, so I'm getting ready to launch my second collection in 2023. It's going to be a very, very cool concept with this. I'm just going to say the word X-ray. Think of what an X-ray is.
Think how you can do that with sleeves and things like that.
I also have collaborations. So doing a collaboration with Lugnut Brand Records. Got a collaboration with a friend down in Portland who's going to launch a record label. So Waxware 45 is alive and well. I've been designing for probably the last 3-4 months. But this is going to be a lot of fun. We've got some premium stuff going on here. We're going to upgrade a little bit to provide a different experience, for our customers and things like that. But, this was probably one of my favorite designs. You got the color, the little checkbox down below, the music notes, promo only. These were all things that
awesome. Yeah.
I really loved. What do we got here? Have some more different ones. Yeah, we got a ton. This was a cool one right here with the diamonds. And again, all of this stuff, I did it myself. I wasn't grabbing images and putting them together. Like if you see, let's see here. What's a good example?
I'm just going to give you all the trade secrets.
Are you hand drawing these, or are you digitally drawing them and then sort of transferring them onto your screen print?
I do everything digital, and occasionally I'll do a sketch. Here's another one that came out pretty cool. So the way that I would do it, Illustrator is really cool, and maybe there's some corner cutting. But if you look at something like that rocket right there, so that rocket, the very top is a triangle, the middle is a rectangle. The things on the bottom there, like wings, those were triangles that were reshaped. You just get creative and you find ways to do this. And I had a lot of fun with it. Again, this stuff took me a long time to do. I'm not an artist, so I had to fail a lot to learn.
And had you done graphic design before? So obviously you're saying you're using Illustrator.
Never.
You just literally launch straight into it and then just thought, experiment and see what happens?
Yeah. I think anybody that knows me at this point, they would say Don goes like 200%. I'm either like all in or not at all. And once I am all in, it's a wrap.
That's great. Right, let's have another record and see what's happening.
All right, let me see here. Where's the battery? Okay, we got 19%. Let's see here. Okay. Play another record.
Yeah, let's do one more and then we'll talk about one more thing and then I'll let you go.
So I like horns. This is a big one. I don't see this too often. It's called Sons of Slum. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. All right, this one came from Val Shively. This is a soul record. The introduction reminds me like it's ready to be sampled for a hip-hop record. It's by the Four Sonics. There it is. You don't have to say you love me. I just love the intro to this. Here we go. So dramatic.
When I say I needed you, said you always stay. It wasn't me who changed but you. And now you've gone away. Don't you see that now you're gone? I love you all.
Yep, so that's the Four Sonics. The cool thing about this one is that Val Shively handpicked this for me, and I had put it on a list that I had sent to him. So we were talking on the phone like 2 weeks ago, and he was tripping out because he's like, hey, one of the records on your list was one of the ones I picked for you. I mean, it's just really cool to be able to talk to people like Val Shively, your Kenny Dopes, crazy, man. I talked to Miss Goldie often. I learned so much from these people that I admire and look up to, and it's all around the records.
That's another great choice, and as Nico says, a hit for Dusty Springfield. But yeah, another great choice. Right, I know we're running out of time a little bit because of your charge, but let's talk about your Seattle Soulcast that you did recently, or you're doing coming up. Let's talk about that. And then probably play one more record, and then we'll find someone to raid out to.
So we talked about this being the first time that I had ever DJ'd before. I want to say 3 months before October or whatever, wanted to see Chris Lujan and Andre Cruz come out and do a show in Seattle. And I was talking to Lucky about venues and things like that. And he said, why don't we do Wax Villain Presents the Soul Coast Showcase? So I opened a can of worms, and the Soul Coast Showcase was a 3-day showcasing. Right here you can see there's the proof it happened. So basically, Chris Lujan, Andre Cruz, Black Diamond Rhythm Band, and the Funkways Band, we played Seattle, Tacoma, and then our final show was in Portland, 3 days in a row, back to back to back. It was incredible, to bring together soul and funk in the Pacific Northwest. Chris and Andre had never played out this way. We arranged for them to do an in-store performance down in Portland. It's just a beautiful thing. And, Wax Villain Presents, I obviously was the selector spinning records. But I was just super proud of it, man, because a lot of this stuff I never thought I would do. I never thought I'd make sleeves.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd DJ. Never thought I'd be a co-founder of a showcase like this. So I'm literally running. Everything I've been doing since 2020, I've been running. There's no walking or crawling. You run, you learn on the fly, you lean on the people. But I'm very resourceful, and I believe in everything that I do, 100%.
And it's that passion that pushes things forward, isn't it? And like you say, the wanting to learn and wanting to experience new things and just test the water and see what's going to happen. Because, if you don't try, you don't know. But again, it's this community coming together and helping you build and getting bigger and bigger and trying these new things. It's amazing. It's amazing. Big ups to yourself. Big ups to yourself.
Thank you.
Right, let's have one more record. Let's have one more record.
I got you. We're gonna roll with. Let's see here. Gonna go with Noriega Records for the last one. It's a beautiful candy-coated color variant. Have Faith in Me, Alina and the Lollipops.
That is
on
nice.
The flip, we get Knick-Knack, Arlene Page, and the Rolas. So I was so hyped when I saw the color variant on this. I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And got a few different copies, but I just loved this two-sided flavor. This was kind of different for Noriega, a Noriega release. You'll hear this one. Play the flip real quick so you can hear that. Now, this is special because the production on this comes from Cardell Productions. If y'all know Coal Mine and Daptone, that's a big name. This is Have Faith in Me by Alina and the Lollipops, and this is a fun one. Shout out to Noriega Records. Shout out to Noriega.
That's another awesome record, and like you say, that's such a beautiful colorway. It's
colorway.
It's interesting what you're saying about being colorblind as well, because do you see the colors, or do you see it sort of in darks and lights, or how do you see it?
So I know that there's green, purple, and white in this. I see the colors probably not as bright as you do. I've tried those colorblind glasses. I got my mother a pair for Christmas a couple years back, and I didn't want to put them on because I know what green looks like. It's looked the same to me for the last X number of years, right? So I didn't want to find out green or the clouds look different, but everything looks brighter, I think, for you, where me, it's not as much. And shades, sometimes I might come out, we were wearing all blue thinking they look different,
That's really interesting. That's really great. Right, I'm just going to set the raid, but in the meantime, while I'm doing that, do you want to tell people what you've got coming up? What have you got coming up in the next sort of few weeks?
23 is wild. So February 5th, I'm going to be with Future Knot at Madame Toussaint. They have an album release party. I'll be spinning there. I think I'm going to be making a return to Portland at some point in 2023. Definitely going to make it out to California for a soul show. But be on the lookout for Waxware 45 second collection of sleeves. We've got tons and tons of live stream interviews coming up this year. Lots of part 2s, some part 3s. I've got a new thing I'm starting called Wax Villain Sessions. And these are going to be live mixes of me playing records that I love. I'm going to tie in certain themes. So the idea is with 45s, we only get like 2 sides of the artist, right? We don't get like what we normally see with an LP. So for musicians on the indie scene that move me, that have lots of 45s, I'm going to be putting all of their music together in a mix, but it's going to be short. Everything is about being digestible. I've taken my unboxings from 10, 15, 20 minutes down to 3. I want this to be something that you can consume quickly and see the whole thing, leave, get the record, and move on with it. So Sessions is going to be a way to experience a body of someone's work or a label's catalog in 15 minutes. The idea is someone's going to hear it and they're going to say, "Ooh, I love F-Spot Records. Let me go look at their Discogs page. Let me find more." So that's what I'm trying to do for musicians and labels that are making music today. And as we continue to push on, I'll probably do some throwback ones because I have a lot of older records that I want to play for people. I mean, one of the records that I didn't get to share with you that I wanted to, I don't think we have the time for it. This is a Schenectady soul record. Incredibly rare. Bernard Black, Just a Little Love. This is off Night Records. I think it's like the only record on Night. Maybe there's one other one. But this was Schenectady, New York, where I'm from. Crazy rare. I don't know anybody that has this, minus the upstate collectors that have been on their game for a while. So, lots of records to share and put in front of people. The whole idea is I started this because I was feeling blue one day and I posted how much this record moved me. The artist wrote back to me and that blew my mind. All I was trying to do was share music that helped me because I knew there was someone else out there that might be feeling blue, might need a pick-me-up, something uplifting. And that's why I did all this. That is the origin, the heartbeat to Wax Villain.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And I'm sure we'll talk again sometime soon. If you want to watch this back, it'll be on YouTube. If you want to listen back, it'll be on Mixcloud. But otherwise, we posted the chat, the link to your website. We've got drum.io/waxvillain. And obviously some of the sleeves, I don't know if they're still there, but on the Nostalgia Kings website as well. So great to see you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And take it easy, everyone. And we're going to raid across.
Before we go,
yeah, go for it.
Just a couple things. I want to wish you a very happy New Year. I want to say thank you for everything that you do. I love your work. And thank you for inviting me. I want to give some shout outs real quick. I want to shout out all my California collector friends. Mike Noriega, George Miller Jr., Rene Ruelas, Sappy Soul, Swab 45. The list goes on. Far too many people to name. But I appreciate y'all so much. I want to shout out Eraserhood Records, Coal Mine Records. I want to shout out Soul Tune Records, Wax Thematic, my brother Lucky Brown, Lugnut Brand Records, Chris Lujan, Andre Cruz. I could do this all day, but I just had to, grab in the core family real quick.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And take it easy, everyone. And we will catch you on another stream very soon.